Let's talk about the 4 keys to SMS compliance. First, your opt-in message has to be visible. If it's not visible, there's one brand I was talking to 2 weeks ago maybe, and they had a great opt-in statement, but in order to see it, you had to hover over like a little eye bubble, little information bubble next to the submit button. Guess what? It's not conspicuous. It's not visible. That's not going to be compliant. And frankly, it's not compliant today, but it's a great opt-in message. So I advised them, get that opt-in out of that bubble and in between the form and the submit button. And that way it's obvious to any normal human would notice that before they submit the button. That's what you got to think about, is what's an average Joe on an average day going to recognize? They have to have seen your opt-in message. Okay. We also need to have, and this is key, we're going to dive into these a little bit more in depth and give you some examples. I went out and pulled, hopefully nobody on this call, and I didn't believe any brands on except for the one good example. And I knew it'd be a good example, so I grabbed that one. But I want to show you guys some non-compliant websites and lead capture forms so you can compare. But you have to declare or say, you see this all the time, by submitting, you agree to, right? Like there's a statement that says you're opting in here. And also mention texts and emails and phone calls. Make sure you mention how you're going to contact them. So there's an actual opt-in. If you're like, you opt in for stuff, like it's got to be clear that you're going to text and call and email if that's what you're going to do, and you should. Then you also need to talk about messaging rates may apply. That language, that phrase should be on your opt-in. You have to describe the frequency of messaging. It's usually just safe to say messaging type and frequency will vary. And then how to cancel. Reply stop to cancel messaging at any time. And also you need to have a link to your privacy policy or your terms of service wherever you're describing how you're collecting their data, storing it, that you're not selling it. I will tell you this, if you guys have some sort of phrase in your privacy policy that says you reserve the right to sell their data to a third party, you will not get approved to use texting. And the texting body, we'll talk about this ghost organization soon, they might also revoke your ability to text. So make sure that you're very careful about that. And there's more. Also, we talked about using an official opt-out. It's in your first message that you send out. You have to say, hi, you have to identify yourself. As if you're business texting, right? That's what this is all about. Consumer to consumer texting, these rules don't apply. It's all about business to consumer texting. And I'm going to pause for a minute. A lot of folks that I've talked to say, well, it doesn't matter because Susan is texting my leads from her personal cell phone. If Susan's doing that on behalf of your business, these rules apply, and that puts you in a more dangerous spot, right? Because Susan might do whatever the heck she wants. Even if she's copying and pasting, she might forget to put opt-outs on there because it's too long. Guess what? Now you're not compliant. So make sure you're systematizing, again, how you're texting. Don't have team members using personal phones to send messages B to C, B to B. That's putting you in a difficult situation. But you need to make sure you have an opt-out reminder. So your first text message from any lead, from any source, needs to say, hi, whatever their name is, or something along those lines. This is Dave from ClientTether. You have to identify yourself and your business. Thanks for reaching out, and whatever you want to say. And then at the very end, you have to say, if you don't want me to text you anymore, reply stop, or text stop to cancel texting at any time. You need to say that one more time in that first text message out. Also, if you're going to nurture some clients, people that you have a business relationship with a text, and it's been a little while since you've reached out to them, strongly recommend putting that same opt-out message into that first retouch. If it's been a while since you've talked to them. If they've been in a steady state of nurturing and communication for months and months and months, you're fine. But it's always wise, if you're going to re-engage and rehash some old leads, put that in there again, because if they don't want to hear from you, you want them to opt out rather than report you and try to go, take you to court. That's again, good best practices to help protect you and your brand. I just talked about that, so let's keep moving. And by the way, you have to have, and this is where you got some challenges if you're not using a compliant system that can automate the opt-out management. But if they reply stop or cancel or wrong number, F off, or something that's obviously they don't want to talk to you, then your system should be able to parse that on the back end and then turn off texting and hold your team accountable to not text anymore. If you're doing this manually, there's a pretty good chance at some point down the road, someone's going to grab that contact in a bulk message and put them in a campaign that's going to text them again. And if it's not automatically blocked by your system, you've just created an issue.